And I just remember crying and crying, and it was around Christmas. This is so sad. God, Jesus. Okay, this is gonna probably be like one of the weirdest videos I filmed. Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. This is Stella the Light. Today I'm going to be talking about relationships and feeling safe in a relationship. I haven't done one of these sit down videos in a while, so it's kind of weird for me right now. I have a really strong opinion and a somewhat heavy heart, as I said in my last video, about abusive relationships, unsafe relationships, and relationships in general, as most of us do. I mean, I think especially at a younger age, we all kind of have not the best relationships. You're young, your emotions are high, you're just getting into that feeling of being comfortable around your partner, and usually your first relationship kind of sets the tone for relationships down the line, your first serious relationship at least. So going through an abusive relationship at a young age can really shape what your idea of love is. You can have this idea of, you know, what you think a true relationship is or what you think love is, and it can be terribly, terribly wrong. And you won't realize until years later, like I did, when I finally met someone who actually really loved me and didn't take me for granted and truly was there for me, if that makes sense. It was not no ulterior motives other than he just loved me, and that in itself confused me. So when I met Damon, he confused me. I thought, why is this guy acting like this towards me? He's being so fake. This is like immature. That's kind of what I pinned on Damon. I said he's just immature, like he just, you know, he doesn't know what a relationship is. When in reality, it kind of flip-flopped. I didn't know what love and what a relationship and what being with someone meant. It means that they're for you. It means that they're there to protect you and to, I might get a little bit emotional, and to, you know, raise you up. And that confused me, and I didn't understand, and I had pushed Damon off for a while. I, you know, had a hard time understanding, like, why is this guy treating me this way? Why is he so into me? Was kind of how I felt. And why is he always trying to make me feel good? I thought he was being fake, you know? Because I didn't feel good about myself, and my self-esteem was low. And, you know, I'm not sitting here poor meing myself, because we all go through this. A lot of us have low self-esteem. We're brought up in a world where that is just kind of common. Anyways, that confused me, and then it took a while for me to adjust, and it took a lot of my own self-work to, you know, push past the idea of what I thought love was before, and to let myself actually be loved and actually be a part of a true, calm, loving, free relationship. Not the usual control and abuse and manipulation and things like that that I was used to for so long. And Damon actually was there towards the end of the relationship that I was in. And I just remember one of the last times that I was around that relationship, something really, really terrible happened, and I just remember he was just there. What had happened was me and that other person had gotten into yet another super crazy, insane fight, and I inevitably got, this is this story, and I'm not trying to go into gore stories because that's not something that I do, but this is just how it happened. But it was winter time. I had gotten into a huge argument. It had to have been past midnight, and I was at the other person's house, and what happened was I ended up getting locked out of the house with no shirt on. And it was actually an apartment, so we were in an apartment complex. I ended up getting locked out. I got shoved out of the door, and then my arm got slammed in the door, and why is my voice shaking? And I didn't have a shirt on, so we were in this apartment complex, and I ended up having to, I tried knocking and knocking and knocking on the door and on the bedroom window and trying to get back in, because I'm like, oh outside with my shirt on, and it's the dead of winter, and I ended up having to knock on the neighbor's door, and thankfully it was an older couple, like really old, like 75 years old, and they opened the door and they were like, oh my god, what are you doing? And I was like, I need to call my mom. I didn't have my phone. All my stuff was in the other apartment, and I had to call my mother, and then my mom ended up calling the police. And so anyways, that night I got home and Damon came over, and I just remember crying and crying, and it was around Christmas. This is so sad. God, Jesus. And I remember just crying and crying, and Damon just being there, and he didn't really say much. He just was there. But he stayed because it was probably by then like 4 or 5 in the morning. He stayed, and I remember the next day we decorated the Christmas tree together, and yeah, Damon has just been there. Like, it's like he's never expected anything from me. He's never pushed anything on me. He's never made me feel bad for anything. He's never once bad talked me or made me feel like I was a bad person. And that in itself, I mean, when you feel like you're a bad person and someone continues to just amp you up and make you feel really good about yourself, it's confusing for you because you were, for so long, have been used to being put down for things that didn't even matter. So, you know, physical things, mental things, things that you've done in your past. You know, when you're so used to being put down constantly, it gets fairly confusing for you. And that's kind of where I was. I was very confused, and I pushed him off, and I thought, this kid is just being, you know, a kid. He was young. Damon was 16 years old when I met him, maybe 15 or 16, probably 16 years old when I met him. And he is just such a true gentleman, and I had not experienced that. And I attribute that to his family, his own dad, his upbringing, just his own inner sense. And he's just so calm and at peace and just there. He's just there. And that's always what he's been. He's been just such a support for me, and such something there that has always been constant. And he hasn't changed. He hasn't changed his tone with me. He hasn't changed his support for me. It's just always been there, and that's just such a good feeling. So I have a personal blog that's up on my website, and the blog posts are things that go over, they're a little bit more intimate and personal, and I get really in depth into these topics. So there'll be topics like anxiety and depression, binge eating, eating disorders, relationships was one of the posts that I did. And in this post, I wrote a long list of things to kind of go over in your relationship. Not all things you should be going over, but just a list that I thought is important, and included, I think, how many did it include? It included 10 things to go over in your own relationship, or maybe before you get in a relationship with someone, just to double check, like, is this relationship in tune with what I want, with the peace and love and happiness that I want it to bring my life? Because that's, I mean, before you get into a relationship, that's what you think. This is happiness. I want this happiness most of the time. Sometimes it's ulterior motives, but for the most part, people, you know, get into a relationship because they're like, this person makes me happy. But these are key points that I think you should go over. I'm going to try to go over them really quickly. Your partner should feed your dreams. So unless you have like insane dreams that like don't make sense, and they're like, look, that's a little crazy, you know, like if it's something totally off the walls, or if it's something that's gonna hurt you or hurt someone else, I get that. But if your dreams are realistic and wonderful and amazing, your partner should be there 150% to support you, and should never bring you down or tell you that your dreams are bad dreams. Your partner should never, and I mean never, compare you to others. So if your partner is constantly saying like, oh, well, he or she does this, why don't you do this? Or, oh, like, I like what she's wearing, or look at that, or, you know, your hair would look good like that. Things like that are abusive in themselves, and you should never compare yourself to others, and your partner most definitely should not compare you to others. Do you feel like your partner is hiding something? This could be as simple as them hiding their phone. I know, like us with our phones, millennials, we always have our phones on us, so they are a crucial part of our lives and they hold a lot in there. Like, that's, your phone is kind of like who you are, and I know that's sad to say, but it's the truth. So if your partner is specifically hiding their phone or hiding things in their phone, deleting things off their phone, not letting you see their phone, things like that, that's a big sign. Or if they're hiding where they're going, who they're with, just if you get that inner sense of something is being hidden from me, that's a sure sign that something's off in the relationship, and you should revalue that, talk about that, be more open about that, and don't be scared to talk about it. And if they come back at you harshly, then you really know something is up, because if they get on the defense, that's a big sign. And I'm not saying that it's important that you go through your partner's phone. A phone is a phone. Mine is mostly used for work and family, and I'm not sure what Damon uses his for, but I guess work and Craigslist. He loves Craigslist, like cars and stuff. So I don't know. That's essentially it. You are separate but together. So this is really, really important. I think it's important not to depend on someone too much. So if you can imagine your life right now, and if you took your partner out of your life, would your life be whole and happy, or would you feel lost and not like a full person? This, I think, is something that people don't realize. We depend a little bit too much on our partner for our happiness, for our livelihood, for just our lives in general, and we need to make sure that outside of our partner, we have a life and we have a good life. So if your partner thinks that you need to be together all the time, or they need to know where you are all the time, or you need to just depend on each other for every bit of happiness that you have in your life, you have to include each other in everything, and it feels a little oppressive, that's a big sign that something is just a little off. It's okay to have little arguments sometimes, they're totally normal, but if you find yourself bickering and arguing non-stop, that is a huge sign that something is indefinitely off. So what you need to do is weigh out how much you are arguing. If you find that every day there's hours of arguments going on, or several times a day, that's something that I think is a big sign of a relationship that needs to either have some work put into it, or maybe some time off, or it's just not a good relationship. If you ever find yourself very frequently wishing that you weren't with the other person, so you should be able to easily spend time with your partner. Like, you should be able to easily and calmly cohabitate with each other, basically, is what I'm saying. So have your own space, but be together, kind of deal. So you should never have those feelings of like, God, I can't wait till I'm alone, or I can't wait until I get away from this person, or things like that. That's a big sign that the relationship might not be right. If you find yourself defending your partner to your friends and family, or trying to pretend like they're a really good person, or making up certain stories to make them seem like a better person, this is also a big sign that that person is not a good person, and you should not, it's not your obligation, or it shouldn't be a part of your relationship to defend them to other people. They should just be a good person. Think about your hobbies together. So if you go over your hobbies, or what you and your partner do, and they are surrounded by things like alcohol, drugs, partying, just bad habits, and that's all you guys kind of do together, like you go out to bars, or you eat junk food together, or you lay around together, you need someone who's going to stimulate you to do better in life. So especially if drugs and alcohol are involved almost every single time that you are with them, I don't think that that is a solid relationship, and especially not one if you start the relationship off like that. If you start your relationship off just hanging out and drinking together all the time, or using drugs together, or like I said, just unhealthy habits, that's going to set the basis of the relationship. So you can try starting new habits together and seeing if that works out and stems like a new part of your relationship, a new healthier part. Or look into, again, taking some time off and stemming your own healthy habits. Do you feel better now, Or do you think you were happier before your relationship? So if you look at yourself in your relationship right now and you feel like, wow, this person has made my life so much better, this person has added to my life, then that's amazing. But if you feel like, wow, I was so much happier and more content with myself and my life before I met this person. So this can be on a happiness spectrum or on a health spectrum. So if you met your partner and you started some really unhealthy habits with them, that then affects your own happiness. So your partner should definitely make you feel happy and healthy, and they should add to your life, not subtract. Any and all abuse is not okay. I know that when we think of an abusive relationship, we think of being punched in the face or being beat up daily or things like that. But there's physical abuse, there's mental abuse, there's sexual abuse, and it's going on every day in relationships. I think it's really important for people to understand that any type of abuse is not okay, and you don't deserve that. You deserve happiness and calm and love and peace, and that's it in your relationship. Yes, you can argue a little bit. Maybe you say some harsh things to each other, but overall, there should be no consistent abuse. So things like manipulating, judging, fear instilling, physical abuse, hitting you, harming you, gripping you up, pushing you, anything along those lines. So it's kind of hard to understand what abuse is and what abuse isn't, especially when you are in a relationship for a long term and you get kind of used to these habits that are going on. But it's really good to, I hope if you watch this video, to get a sense of what a good and happy and healthy relationship is versus what an abusive and manipulative and, you know, just a poor relationship is. Because like I said before, you deserve happiness, and whether that's alone or with someone, it doesn't matter. But if you are with someone, you have to make sure that they are feeding your dreams, making you feel amazing, and adding to your life. All right, guys. Sorry if that was a little bit all over the place. That was the first sit-down video that I've done in a while. I hope you really enjoyed it, and if you have anything to add to this, please leave it down in the comments below. Thank you so much for watching. Please give this video a thumbs up and make sure to subscribe to my channel. And if you're interested in going plant-based, visit my website, StellaTheLight.com. Hit the contact me button and tell me your story and why you want to go plant-based. All right, guys, I'll see you for the next video.